Chapter 1. Money will disappear if you don't use it wisely. Nick Maggiulli's grandfather was addicted to horse racing. Even though he had a monthly income of around $2,200, with very little to pay out, he never invested a dime. Had he invested, he would have been a millionaire. Instead, he gambled it all away and died with zero assets at the end of his 26 years of retirement. It's effortless for money to evaporate. You only have to go out for drinks with your friends, and before you know it, a large chunk has disappeared. But by turning your attention to saving and investing, you'll find that your mindset toward money changes for the better. Keep in mind, most people avoid investing because they don't understand where to start. However, small steps and careful decisions are all it takes. The subject of savings comes first. After all, you can't invest what you don't have. But that amount you save will differ from the amount another person may choose to invest. We all have different financial capabilities. Of course, you need to live your life comfortably and enjoy the perks of earning a regular salary. But you also need to be able to put a good amount aside for the future. But how much? The way to work out where your focus should be is to think about how much you think you can save over the coming 12 months. This is your expected savings. Then think about how much your investments should grow in the same amount of time. This is your expected investment growth. Which is higher? Understanding where to place your focus is the first step toward a brighter financial future. After all, that's what we all want, isn't it? If your expected savings are higher, you need to save more cash before you start investing. If your expected investment growth is higher, you need to look at how you can diversify and make the most of your investments. If you're someone who struggles to understand savings and investments, but you want to start creating a better financial future, this summary is for you. You will learn the answers to some of the most commonly asked financial questions and gain the confidence to make moves in the right direction. Chapter 2. Savings don't have to be a traumatic subject. Most people want to save but never get around to it. It's not the most glamorous of subjects, but it's also a topic you should address. Putting part of your salary away every month means you can't spend it, but it also means that you're improving the quality of your future. Your future self will thank you for it. One of the biggest misconceptions about savings is that you need to put away a large chunk every month. The truth is that you probably don't need to save as much as you currently think. There is also no set amount for every person on how much they should save. It varies. Every person has different responsibilities and financial needs from month to month. For example, we have been told to put away 20% of our monthly salary for many years, but that doesn't work across the board. You may find yourself a little shorter on cash in January than in August. That means you should aim to save more in August and just do what you can in January. Remember, it is better to set aside at least a small amount than nothing at all. You need to have a decent quality of life while you're saving. There's no point putting all your spare money away and then finding that you're miserable at home, saying no to every invite to go out with friends. It's about finding a balance. When you save whatever you can every month, you'll find you're far less stressed than you would be otherwise. Firstly, you'll have something in your savings account. And secondly, you won't be panicking about hitting a golden savings figure every month. When we have the ability to save more, we should save more. And when we don't, we should save less. Nick Maggiulli. A good rule of thumb is to look at your income minus your savings. What is left is the amount you can save. If you want to increase your savings a little more, look at how you can earn more cash. Selling a skill, a service, or some unnecessary things from home, studying something that will bring additional income, or looking for a promotion at work are excellent options. Chapter 3. Spending without guilt is entirely possible. We all enjoy spending money. It's universal because it brings us a hit of enjoyment and happiness for a short while. Of course, we don't like spending money on bills and other boring subjects, but buying something nice for ourselves, that's always fun. The good news is that there is a way you can spend without having a large amount of guilt attached to it. Remember, if you choose to splurge, make sure it's worthwhile and not something you will throw in a cupboard after a few weeks. Nick Maggiulli has developed what he calls the 2X rule. When you want to buy something, big or small, you should invest the same amount of money in something that will bring a return in the future. Then, you're not only getting the thing that you want, but you're investing positively too. There's no downside to that, and therefore no guilt. A second way to spend without having a mountain of guilt afterward is to make sure that you maximize the fulfillment you get out of whatever you're purchasing. However, Maggiulli points out that fulfillment and happiness are two different things. You can easily be happy for a short amount of time when you buy something, but fulfillment is far longer lasting. Make sure that whatever you choose to spend aligns with your life goals and reflects what you're trying to achieve in life. For instance, if you have a life goal to write a book, buying a new laptop will help you achieve that. In that case, you're maximizing fulfillment because it's helping you to reach your life aims. Did you know, according to a 2017 survey by NerdWallet, 49% of Americans blame their emotions for spending more than they can actually afford. Chapter 4. Perhaps debt isn't the negative thing we believe it to be. If you find that you can't afford to get by on your salary alone and need to use credit to afford life, that's a huge red flag that you should address. Yet, in some cases, it's possible to utilize debt to ensure you have more money in the future. Keep in mind, before signing a credit card agreement, make sure the interest rate isn't too high. Research average rates at the time. Some people have both credit card debt and savings accounts. They could comfortably pay off their debts from what they have accrued in their savings account, but they choose not to. Why? They're doing what is known as financial bed hedging. Rather than paying off the debt and reducing their savings, they're cutting down on the long-term risk of not having enough money in the future. In addition, many people take out loans with low interest rates, choosing not to pay them off with their savings. They do this because they know that the interest rate means they'll pay the debt off far quicker than they would be able to top up their savings accounts once more. When it comes to reducing risk, debt can be used to provide additional liquidity, smooth cash flow, or decrease uncertainty. Nick Maggiulli. There are many options to help you get out of money trouble over time. However, one thing to bear in mind is that debt can affect your mental health detrimentally. The simple knowledge that you owe money can be stressful for some people. It's also important to only go into debt by choice and not because it's the only option. If this feels like the case for you, seek out financial advice. Simply paying the minimum on a credit card will not allow you to eat into the balance and merely means paying more to the company through interest. So, while not paying off your balance from your savings isn't always a bad idea, you should make sure that you're paying enough every month to make headway into the balance. That way, you can clear it and use it again in the future should you wish to do so. Chapter 5. The big question, to buy or to rent? At some point, we all face the question of whether we should attempt to get on the property ladder and buy a house or continue to rent. It's far more difficult than it used to be to buy a house, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. You also need to be clear that continued renting over a long period means that you're literally throwing money away. Despite that, most people dream of having a home that is theirs and that doesn't belong to a landlord they rarely see, or in some cases a landlord they see far too often. However, homeownership isn't a golden ticket either. There are many costs associated with buying a house, not to mention maintenance costs on top of the mortgage. So when you go to buy a house for the first time, you'll need to have between 3.5 to 20% of the house's cost and the application fees in savings. Depending on the price of the home, that could be a considerable sum of money and will take time to save. Keep in mind, owning a home is also an investment, as you may be able to sell it for a profit later on. The cost of renting is a risk too. There are unknown costs over the long term and plenty of uncertainty. In addition, there will be costs associated if you need to move in the future. Choosing to buy or rent comes down to whether you can save up the deposit, but if you're still unsure if it's the right step, you need to think carefully. Nick Maggiulli says that you should only buy a house if you can satisfy the following criteria. You plan to stay in that town or city for at least 10 years. Your job and personal life are stable. And you have the cash to afford it comfortably. If you can't tick all 3 boxes, you need to stick with renting until your situation changes. Chapter 6. The world of investments doesn't have to be complicated. Investing needs to be done carefully and with research, but you might be surprised to learn that it doesn't always have to be an extremely complex process. By taking your time and the right advice, you'll be able to invest your cash and look forward to a secure financial future. Why is investing a good route forward? Simply put, it's money you can use in retirement. We all know that pensions don't tend to give us enough to live a high-quality life, but investments will provide you with enough money to enjoy your retirement at a time when you deserve it the most. Investments are also an excellent way to protect your cash against inflation. Remember, if you're worried about market crashes, consider investing in a lower-risk area. Also know that crashes are highly unlikely to happen. Understanding what you should invest in is the most challenging question. There are countless options, but most people stick with bonds and stocks. Yet, if you want to create a rewarding portfolio with a significant return, you should diversify and check out all the options, including stocks, bonds, property investment, real estate investment trusts or REITs, small businesses, farmland, franchising, royalties and investing in your own products, cryptocurrency, and art. Stocks are a popular choice because they're reliable over the long term, but they are also quite volatile. However, bonds are safer because they're less inconsistent, although they will bring a lower return for that lower risk level. It's essential to invest as soon as possible, rather than leaving it until later. Indeed, most markets go up over time, but that doesn't mean delaying your investment is a good route forward. It's a chaotic choice that risks you paying higher prices the longer you wait. It's normal to be worried about investing a large sum of cash, but stick with a lower risk investment if you have real concerns. That way, you still get some return without the stress and risk. Conclusion. There is a reason why money is one of the leading causes of stress. It's a subject that few people fully understand and easily misinterpret, depending upon whether the advice is reliable. We all need money to live, but we also need to think about a time in the future when we won't have a regular paycheck coming in. Savings and investments are an excellent answer to that issue. If you head online to research how much you should be saving every month, you probably will not believe your eyes and wonder how you're supposed to find that much spare cash. The good news is that money matters are entirely personal and vary from situation to situation. If you can only afford to save X amount on a particular month, when you usually have more, don't worry. Put away what you can and know that you've done something. It's enough. Don't complicate matters by trying to invest the moment you get a small amount of cash in your savings account either. Work slowly, focus on savings, and when you've got enough, turn your attention to investments. Crowding your mind with too many subjects leads to burnout. This summary should have helped you feel less confused and worried about building your wealth over time. You'll now see that while you should turn your attention to it, it doesn't mean you need to save every penny either. You can live your life. Try this. Sit down and work out your monthly outgoing as honestly as you can. Is there anything you can pay off now or reduce? Open a dedicated savings account, preferably one with a high interest rate, and transfer money to it every time you get paid. Start researching different investment options and ask questions when they arise, which they will.